Hello, religion thinkers. Today I'd like to talk to you on the meaning of religion about Johnny Harris's recent video on his leaving the Mormon Church. I think there's some very interesting points to make about the video, and they affect people who belong to any religious institution or have belonged to it. The first point that Johnny Harris makes in leaving the Mormon Church was that he had to face a moment upon the birth of his son. And I think that is a pretty important moment to all of us, for many reasons. But religiously, you have to think about what are the values that I'm going to pass on to my son or daughter? What am I going to tell them? Having a church and having other people to reiterate and emphasize the values that you grew up with, that can be a pretty important and powerful ally in raising a son or a daughter. Now, the second point he makes is peer pressure. It's very difficult to walk away from any institution. You may feel like you're letting down family, friends, relatives, and that's going to be a very difficult thing to do, to walk away from the traditions with which you were raised. Now, for many of us, and I suspect probably most of us, we don't have to face that moment. Maybe we feel comfortable in the values in which we were raised. But, and this gets to my third point, Johnny Harris said in the video he had a moment where he said, this isn't working. This is just not working for him. And I think that applies to a great many people who are reared in any sort of faith tradition. They may feel very strongly and positively about many things inside their tradition. Say, yeah, this is great. I want my son or daughter, I want to tell the world about this. But there may be some alarm bells going off in the back of their minds saying, this doesn't quite sit right. This really isn't working for me, as he said. Now, point number 4 here is that churches, institutions have a lot to give us in terms of their rituals and affirming who we are. This is another point he talks about. There is a sense, I think, whether you're a member of any religious tradition, not just the Mormons, that this is who I am. This is what I belong to, and the church is affirming me. It's giving me a positive statement about that. That's a great thing, if you can remain connected with it. But there's also a flip side to that, and this is point number 5 that he makes, and that there may be some internalized shame or pressure to obey. You feel like you have to agree with what is said in the institution. If you're not, maybe you're not being a good enough Mormon or a good enough Catholic or a good enough Muslim, whatever the case may be. There is, again, that strong pressure, but also that internalization of those ideas to make us stay inside the same institution. So these are all very understandable things. A 6th point that Johnny Harris makes, and I love this expression, it's one that's occurred to me many times, is that nobody has a monopoly on truth. This is something that I've believed also for a long time. What institution, what tradition, or what text can say that has a monopoly on the truth? Truth may be something that you see as existing outside of institutions or between institutions, something perhaps greater than them. But many traditions, many texts claim to be that authority and to have that monopoly. And again, you may reach that moment where you feel, this isn't quite working for me. I don't really necessarily believe that. For my part, I've always looked to individuals and their ideas for being the greatest source of meaning. These ideas can transcend institutions, they can transcend texts, or they can transcend traditions. Indeed, it's been my belief that if there's a God up there, I think that God would look most firmly at the heart and the mind and be able to discern my true character. And I think this is where many traditions can have a positive role. Whatever tradition you may belong to is giving you that values, giving you that training, giving you that discipline. As Johnny Harris says, the Mormon religion did a lot for him. There was a lot of positive good. And so this is another reason why it may be very difficult to step away, because there is a feeling that there is so much good that you may be leaving behind, and you don't want to anger people by leaving the tradition that's from your roots. And one of the last points he makes is that there is a great freedom that can be found beyond institutions. I think he can be very right about this. I think many people who break away from their institution, they can feel a sense of relief. But also, again, that sense of regret, that sense of difficulty, and asking the question, what am I leaving behind? Why am I leaving this behind me? And this is where I get interested as a teacher of religion, because I've asked the same question. We're in a very global world, a world which is above and bigger than any particular institution. And I think people nowadays want to have institutions ask that question, what does it mean to be part of a broader world? What does it mean to be part of a broader global cosmos? What type of religion or what type of perspective offers that? And again, I think some individuals and their ideas can convey this to us as we relate to them. I've always liked Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Reinhold Niebuhr, just to name a few. Jesus, of course, also, as one who has a Christian background, has been deeply meaningful to me. Institutions are going to continue to have a role, whether you choose to be a part of them or not. Make no mistake about that. But institutions are always going to have their limitations. They're not always going to be able to speak for every individual which is reared in that particular faith. Wherever you may be, and whatever perspective you may have, I wish you well, and I hope you look forward to another video. Thank you.